Siab Mang believed that Li Hua had a unique talent for first raising everyone's morale, only to bring it crashing down immediately afterward. He disliked everything Li Hua did. During an announcement, Li Hua revealed the third and final benefit of entering the academy: the candidates would receive a rank they had never held before. This made Cheon Kyungwoon realize that the absence of ranks or privileges up until now was intentional. Everything would change once they entered the academy, only the strong would survive from that point forward. Li Hua proceeded to explain the ranking system. Each stage passed would earn the candidates a new rank. Stage 1 would grant the title of low-ranked warrior, Stage 2 would yield a middle-ranked warrior, Stage 3 a high-ranked warrior, Stage 4 a squad leader, and Stage 5 a clan leader. As for Stage 6, he stated that it was irrelevant for most of them and skipped its explanation. He emphasized that the majority present would not make it past the third stage, regardless of their efforts. Li Hua then posed a rhetorical question, asking if it wouldn't be a disgrace for those from high-ranking clans to be reduced to low-ranked warriors. Siab Mang silently wondered if Stage 6 could even be considered a test, as it was nearly impossible to complete. He reflected that fewer than 10 people had passed it in the academy's centuries-long history. Li Hua clarified that advancement within the academy would be recognized through rank, even though all cadets began at the same level. Cheon Yeowoon reflected that while survival had been his main concern until now, the new reality was that survival depended on rising in rank. Li Hua concluded his explanation and announced that he would now assign dormitory groups as the first test was about to begin. This startled Prince Cheon, who nervously asked what that meant. Confused murmurs broke out among the students. One questioned whether they had heard correctly, another expressed disbelief and argued the situation was unfair. A few wondered aloud whether they should be learning something before taking a test, and one worried about the consequences of expulsion. Li Huamyang ordered silence and reiterated that, as he had stated before, anyone who failed the upcoming test would be expelled and wouldn't even qualify to be called a low-ranked warrior. He explained that the first test would assess their basic abilities. He stressed the importance of Nigong, declaring it a fundamental requirement for becoming a warrior of their sect. He warned that those who lacked basic Nigong would be reassigned to agricultural, commercial, or service sectors and should be prepared for failure. When Cheon Yeowon asked about the kind of work he'd be given, Li Hua chuckled and explained that menial labor still needed to be done, so they shouldn't try too hard if they weren't prepared. Cheon cursed internally. He realized the true reason why the women of the 6 clans had made him swear never to learn Nigong. If he failed this test, he would be relegated to the lowest status in the cult, or anyone could try to kill him without consequence. Cheon Mukiam observed him and silently praised the cleverness of whoever came up with this plan, thinking it saved him the trouble of having to eliminate Cheon Yeowon himself. Not long after, Hang Soyu, the 5th elder and leader of the Sound clan, arrived. Li Hua explained that she would be overseeing the first test due to her dual role. He reassured them that the test was relatively easy, implying that failure at this point would indicate complete unsuitability for advancement. A student whispered a question about the identity of the Sound clan's leader, while another asked why such a high-ranking figure would be present for a basic test. No answers came. Meanwhile, Cheon Yeowon noticed that many around him were covering their ears. Li Hua then clarified that if the 5th elder unleashed her full musical energy wave, the weaker students wouldn't stand a chance. However, she would restrain herself for their sake. He encouraged the cadets not to worry too much, some might endure it even without Nigong. Cheon swore inwardly upon understanding that they were to withstand a musical energy wave. Hang Soyu then added that even a small amount of Nigong would allow them to endure for at least a minute. Li Hua stated that those who could endure the wave for a full minute without fainting would pass the first test. He then signaled the start of the test. As the 5th elder began playing, panic spread among the students. One cried out that he could still hear the music despite covering his ears. One by one, the cadets began collapsing. Li Hua calmly observed the situation. As expected, the majority of those from smaller clans had already fallen, while the students from the 6 major clans and other high-ranking families were managing to resist. Mukiam laughed, claiming the music was merely annoying. He reasoned that cadets from the major clans had been taking special medicines since childhood, allowing them to accumulate significant Nigong. He assumed the bastard with no Nigong must have already collapsed. Suddenly, something felt off. Shion One Ryu noticed that the elder's tempo was increasing and questioned why everyone appeared to be in pain. At the same time, the fifth elder herself wondered why Cheon Yeowon had not yet fallen. Contrary to expectations, Prince Cheon stood calmly amidst the chaos. He wasn't even covering his ears. He looked at his hands, puzzled. Half of the candidates were already on the ground, and he questioned why they were suffering from internal injuries while he remained unaffected. At that moment, Nano Machine detected intense high and low frequency waves from the music and identified a risk of serious bodily harm. It immediately activated emergency defense mode to block the sound waves. Cheon asked the Nano Machine if it had altered his hearing to block the music. Nano confirmed this and explained that it had temporarily disabled his body's auditory functions. When Cheon asked how he could still hear Nano's voice, Nano clarified that it was transmitting the information directly to his brain. Cheon found the situation challenging. As Hang Soyu stared at him, he asked Nano whether it could also block her intimidating gaze. Nano asked if he wanted his vision blocked, to which Cheon quickly replied no. Lee Hwa sensed a growing urgency in the elder's performance. Though the Sound Clan had grown significantly more powerful over time, this level of intensity was still too much for those with less than 20 years of Nigong. He suspected Prince Cheon was the cause of the fifth elder's agitation. He had heard that Prince Cheon had no Nigong, but the way he was enduring the performance in such a stable condition made that claim hard to believe. Lee Hwa, for the first time since taking his post, found himself excited about a test and wondered how much longer Cheon could last. Meanwhile, one student said his ears were bleeding, and another confirmed he was experiencing the same. Most cadets felt that even 20 years of Nigong was barely enough to withstand the energy wave, but they persevered, driven by the pride of their upper clans. Prince Mukiam began to question the elder's aggressive playing and noted her contorted expression. He surmised that she was angry. Suddenly, he turned his head, shocked. Jang Summon One Ryu noticed and wondered what had startled him. When they turned to look behind them, they were stunned. Everyone turned to see Prince Cheon. Completely fine, calm, and not the least bit exhausted. They all silently questioned how someone without Nigong could remain so composed under such pressure. Prince Mukiam came to a single, undeniable conclusion. Prince Cheon must have Nigong. Prince Cheon asks Nano, the kids in front of the fifth elder are angry, right? Nano Machine responds and begins analyzing facial muscle movements. Nano replies, from their facial expressions, we can observe absurdity, surprise, petulance, and anger. Prince Cheon says, I can't hear anything. I don't know what is happening. I can't see their hostility. He reflects that their pride is wounded after seeing him endure this long without any Nigong. He thinks that if he passes the first test in good condition, they won't believe him even if he says he doesn't have Nigong. So he asks Nano to give him an internal injury. Nano Machine asks, do you mean internal injury, damage to your organs? He confirms it. Nano acknowledges it's possible but advises against intentionally injuring his body. Prince Cheon insists, I don't care. Once the performance is over, give me internal injuries and make me vomit blood. Nano Machine responds, forcing internal organ damage as ordered by Master. The fifth elder reflects that it's almost been 1 minute. She thinks that Prince Cheon, who isn't even 15 years old, could endure this so easily? She tells herself it can't end like this, her pride won't allow it. The fifth elder uses half the power in her body, thinking, try to endure this performance. Lee Hwa realizes this is getting dangerous and yells for the fifth elder to stop. She stops playing the music, and everyone expresses relief that it's finally over. Xiao Mang reflects that if she had used even a little more power, everyone would have failed the first test. He can't believe the fifth elder let it get out of control. She sits down and curses inwardly, realizing she couldn't control her anger against that young bastard and ended up using half her power. She attributes it all to the violation against the 6 clans and glares at Cheon Yeowon. Suddenly, Prince Cheon vomits blood. Mukiam observes and wonders, what is that? How could he throw up that much blood? Is he dying? Prince Cheon covers his mouth and calls for Nano. Nano Machine reports, the program has been executed as ordered, causing damage to approximately 30% of the organs. Significant blood loss. Cheon reflects that he thought he was dying from the amount of blood he vomited. Liwa rushes to him, realizing that if Cheon dies because of this test, he will be held responsible for everything. Even though Cheon is not from the 6 clans, they can't let a member of the leader line die. He grabs Cheon's hand and asks if he's okay. Nano Machine detects dizziness from 7% blood loss and activates self-healing mechanisms for organ damage and blood loss. Cheon refuses healing for now and says, "Not yet." Liwa, while supporting him, wonders at how much Nigong he must have to endure this much. But when he checks Cheon's pulse, he realizes there's no Nigong at all. He finds the situation remarkable. Despite all the negative rumors about the 7th prince, Cheon passed the first test through sheer willpower alone. He calls the guards and orders them to take Cheon to the infirmary. Cheon urges Nano to heal him quickly. Hang Soyu observes and wonders how he endured her energy wave despite having severe internal injuries. Li Wamang reproaches the 5th elder, stating her actions were excessive and almost killed Cheon. She asks, by any chance, did that child have even a little Nigong? Li Wa replies, he has none. I only gave him a light simulation. He kept his oath. The 5th elder is surprised and asks, how is that possible? How could he have endured my energy wave without Nigong? If he had none, he should have fainted like the other children. Li Wa replies, he has very serious injuries. He endured it all with his will. She questions, what do you mean, with his will? He explains, sheer willpower. And that's enough to be intimidating. He reflects that if Cheon weren't an illegitimate child, he would have liked to take him as a student, but going against the 6 clans brings nothing good. Siab Mang laughs and drinks, remarking, enduring with willpower? This is fun. Liwa tells him, it's none of your business. Go drink in a corner. Siab Mang retorts, I was going to, even without your advice. Liwa tells him to get lost. Siab Mang says, a guy who'd be dead if he wasn't a guardian seems to enjoy playing around. Liwa replies, you still speak well even with a mouth full of alcohol. He recalls that day when Siab Mang said if he weren't a guardian, he would be dead. Suddenly, both of them release their energy-powerful waves sweep toward the students. The students perceive this intense energy and think, the right and left guardians are crazy. Siab Mang walks away, declares he's leaving, insults Li Wa, and remarks at how the students are sprawled on the ground just from that wave. He scoffs, kids these days don't have any grit. And thinks to himself, compared to them, I really like that kid, Cheon Yeo Woon.